Good evening. It's Thursday, June 16th, 2016. I'm your host, Gabe Tugenstein. Welcome to the Local Live. An incident at Mamaroneck Middle School requires police attention. Mamaroneck Larchmont Student Aid Fund helps MHS seniors reach their educational goals. Larchmont Playhouse has been sold. Those details coming up. A new nonprofit wants to fight Alzheimer's disease. And Kat Galliano brings you the local news in this week's In the Media. 1888 Fine Men's Hair Salon opens a franchise in Mamaroneck, and it's in the spotlight. Father's Day is right around the corner. Tonight on our roundtable, we'll discuss paternity leave and other fatherhood issues with humor columnist of the Journal News, Dan Bova, and Town of Mamaroneck Councilman Tom Murphy. Stay tuned.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is the Local Live.
A verbal exchange between two Mamaroneck Middle School students resulted in one of the students making a threat to retrieve a weapon to use against the other. The Mamaroneck School District immediately notified police and the families of the individual students involved. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and neither the police investigation nor the school concluded that it was a credible threat. $290,000 in scholarships were awarded to 49 Mamaroneck High School seniors this past June 13th. For 79 years, the Mamaroneck Larchmont Student Aid Fund has been making college possible for students in need. The majority of scholarship recipients were the first ones and their families to attend college. President of the Student Aid Fund, Amy Guenzi, expressed her gratitude to the donors and emphasized the value of their gift.
For 79 years, the goal of the Student Aid Fund has remained the same: to help Mamaroneck High School seniors afford college, allowing them to pursue their dreams. Without the almost 500 individuals, families, groups, and local organizations who generously give to the Student Aid Fund, we would not be able to help the many students that we do year in and year out. Our donors have two things in common. They are all connected to our community in one way or another, and they are all committed to helping our local students attend college. Their donations may allow our award recipients to live on campus, pay for books or transportation, or reduce or eliminate their debt load or work-study hours, thereby allowing them to focus on what college is really about: learning, expanding one's mind, maturing, being exposed to new people and experiences, and exploring a new and exciting world. So a huge thank you to all of our donors.
The keynote speaker of the evening was Samantha Reed. She gave a moving speech that received a standing ovation. The MHS alum from class 2012 received the Mamaroneck Teachers Fund Award back in 2012. Now, after graduating from Penn State University, she is heading off to teach in a charter school in Newark with Teach for America.
Donors, I was the recipient of the Mamaroneck Teachers Association Award in 2012 because I had an interest in teaching. That interest catapulted me to earn a degree in secondary education and landed me a full-time position teaching social studies upon graduation. So I am thankful to have been selected for an award that helps further my education. I am a testament to what can happen when generous souls invest in children's dreams. Your donations are not in vain. To every teacher, parent, administrator, friend, sibling, grandparent, and cousin that may be with us here tonight. And last but not least, the class of 2016. Congratulations on achieving another milestone in your life.
In other school news, the Mamaroneck High School 4x800 relay team of Lauren Chappie, Shari Rolls, Katie DeVore, and Lauren Schbiz concluded their fantastic year by winning the New York State Championships with a time of 8 minutes and 54 seconds. This state title is another great addition to one of the most successful seasons in MHS track and field history. The group had won a national title and multiple sectional titles before this recent gold medal. Congrats, team. The campaign to save the Larchmont Playhouse has come to an end. The Picture House Regional Film Center's Kickstarter page officially confirmed that the campaign had been canceled. According to the Mamaroneck Larchmont Daily Voice earlier this week, a developer had purchased the Playhouse for more than $1 million, leaving no choice but to suspend the efforts. The Kickstarter campaign had already raised nearly $90,000 in the week that it was up. We will update you with more details as the story develops. United Hebrew of New Rochelle hosted their grand opening celebration for Willow Gardens. The facility is Westchester County's first nonprofit residence devoted exclusively to people affected by Alzheimer's and dementia care. The Alzheimer's affects more than 5.3 million Americans, including more than 1 in 10 residents who are now 65 or older. Here's Kat Galliano with what's trending in the media.
In the wake of the Orlando tragedy, the Village of Mamaroneck will be holding a candlelight vigil to pay respect and honor the victims. The vigil will be held this Friday, June 17th at 8 p.m. at the memorial in front of the courtroom located at 169 Mount Pleasant Avenue. You can read more on Mayor Rosenblum's official Facebook page. Larchmont Police confirmed one of their police officers suffered minor injuries when his cruiser struck a stone wall in pursuit of a stolen car in New Rochelle this past weekend. After the crash, the stolen white BMW continued through New Rochelle, leaving officers unable to locate it. You can read more on lowhud.com. According to niche.com, Homix Middle School and Rhinebeck Middle School have ranked high in the list of New York State's best public middle schools. Rhinebeck Middle School came in at number 22, while Homix came in at 26. For more information, visit the Larchmont Mamaroneck patch. Greenwich Police Marine officers came to the rescue of a sinking recreational boat with 5 people on board this past Sunday. The boat was taking in water just off the shores of Rye Playland when the Marine officers heard the emergency call on the radio. Police reported that the boat sank within minutes after the people were rescued. Thankfully, no one was injured. We want to remind you to stay safe out on the water this summer. You can read more on the Mamaroneck Larchmont Daily Voice. That's what's trending in the media this week. I'm Kat Galliano for the Local Live.
We have our local trivia question up next, and don't go anywhere, because after that we'll have Mamaroneck Town Councilman Tom Murphy and writer Dan Bova in our special Father's Day roundtable discussion.
Welcome to the Father's Day Roundtable. We're devoting this segment to dads and parenting issues from the male perspective. As always, we want you to join the conversation. Call, email, or tweet to the contact information on your screen. We'll take questions, comments, and even your favorite short dad stories. I'm Maura Carlin. With me are Mamaroneck Town Councilman and father of 3, Tom Murphy, and Dan Bova, a Larchmont dad of 2. And yes, they have careers too. Dan is the editorial director of Entrepreneur.com and a humor columnist for the Journal News. And Tom's an elevator mechanic as well as town councilman. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. We're going to start with paternity leave, which for the sake of our discussion, let's say is paid leave for a new child. It could be called parental leave applicable to mothers and fathers. Either of you have paternity leave when your kids were born?
I didn't have what was called that. I was able to kind of sneak away with some vacation days. But from what I've read about this 12-week thing, no, that was not on the table. That was not a possibility.
No, I didn't have paternity leave. I think I might have taken a week's vacation when the kids were born. But my trade doesn't allow for paternity leave, unfortunately.
Before we get to that, let me ask, if it were available, and thinking back, would you have taken advantage of it?
Absolutely.
You would have?
Absolutely. Why not? Yeah. I mean, it gives you a chance to bond with your child. It gives you a chance to, help out at home because, especially with a first child, it's all a learning experience for everybody. And with a new baby, you're always having to go to the doctors and there's always something that you need, so it's an extra pair of hands always helps.
You're a little more hesitant,
That was
Dan.
well put. I wish I was that good of a man. No, I probably would have done it, but when you get to go back to work, you know, after that, especially with your first kid, and you're like, what is going on? You know, it's just pure chaos. You're like, it feels like a vacation to go to work, because you don't have to wipe anyone's butts at work, usually, depending what your job is.
Yeah.
You might be kissing it, however.
There's minimal crying. So, you know, going back to work was actually like, that was like a break in the action. And then you come back home and, you know, the insanity starts again.
Well, between the three of us, we have 7 sons.
Wow.
So, what would you advise them?
Well, not that they would take my advice, but if they would, I would say, you know, it's something that you're going to have to talk about, obviously, with your partner, and you know, to see what she would want to do, and you know how that would work together. But my advice would be that if it's a benefit that your job affords you, you should take it, and you know, try and help your family, especially if it's paid. You know, I guess we could all take Family Leave Act, which is unpaid, but that's just, you know, that's for most people that's really untenable because they can't afford to take 12 weeks off without a check.
Right. What about you, Dan?
Well, I'm an exceptionally wealthy person, so that's not an issue. No, I mean, yeah, I'm sure I would, you know, if they actually asked for my advice for something other than Minecraft, I would probably, I would advise them to take it. Yeah, I mean, you should be there, be around the kid.
Well, recent studies say that less than 2% of men for whom it's available actually take advantage of it. And they also show that men are reluctant to take the break for career, financial, and social reasons. What do you think? That they're afraid, you know, women who take paternity leave often get mommy tracked or they get set back in their careers. And they're concerned about the same thing happening to them.
That's fascinating. Well, you know, I work in an industry that's unionized, and that's, you know, that wouldn't affect me as much. But I guess, you know, we're at this. You know, I bet if you looked at the statistics, it would be different for other countries, for European countries.
Oh, it's very different in other countries.
And I think, you know, we're so success driven, and you know, how much money we have, and that's the measure of success. And you know, that might not always be the measure of happiness, or it usually isn't the measure of happiness. But I think we're all so conditioned that success is just monetary. So if you take a break and you get off the success track, you've somehow had a less successful life, because you know we monetize our happiness.
Although there may be a change with the newer generation. They seem to be a little bit less focused on purely on financial success.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that people will probably grow to accept. You know, from where we sit, maybe it's like, well, of course a woman should be able to take this time off. She just had a human being come out of her body, like she needs to recover. Whereas, you know, you could see some people like going, oh, he's taking 12 weeks to like sit on the couch and watch TV. You know, people who don't really understand maybe what's going on with a newborn child. So it'll probably be one of those things that, you know, over the years, gradually people kind of like accept it.
From the female point of view, it's not really a vacation when you're recovering and you're actually feeding this person from your own body.
Right.
But
Yes.
you know, what Dan's saying, I think he's got a good point. I think this is something that's been evolving. You know, I bet we did a lot more than our fathers did.
Right.
And you know, so I imagine that as the gender walls kind of break down over, you know, this is your job and that's my job, you know, because now women have to work a lot more than they used to have to work, and, you know, and they want to work, and you know, they should be able to work, but you know, my mom stayed home, and so that was all expected of her because Dad went to work. Now, when I got older, you know, we couldn't afford for my children's mother and I to both stay home, so we both had to work. So you know, there was a lot more juggling.
Do you think it depends on the career? And I will just say that I can't think of any lawyers or investment bankers, for example, who took any kind of paternity leave other than, you know, a few days when the child was born, or you know, just home from the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It could very well be, you know, what the culture is like at that in that particular field. Yeah, but I think just, you know, going back to what we were saying before, I think it's just something that, people probably just aren't used to that notion of like a guy, is a value for him, for his family, and for the health of his family, and thereby the health of the community to be home taking care of his kid.
Tom, you've mentioned you're a union guy. Do union contracts provide for maternity or paternity leave, frankly?
Mine doesn't, but I would imagine some do. Probably some of the municipal contracts do.
Okay.
I can't speak to that a lot. It's never been an issue that I've heard of come up in negotiations. So, but it's something to start thinking about because we are very male oriented. I'd say we're over 95% male in my industry. So we have to start adapting because a lot of the young guys, they're going to want to be more involved. As Dan and I probably were a lot more involved than our dads.
Right.
The kids who are coming in today are probably going to be a lot more involved in their children's lives than we felt that we could, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure that my dad ever changed my diaper.
Really?
Dad, really? He did his part, but I don't think he got in there. I don't think he got in the nitty
But
gritty.
they weren't in the maternity ward. They weren't in the delivery.
Yeah.
They were in the bar waiting. Waiting. Yeah.
I don't know that I go that far, but you're right.
I love my dad, but I know what dad was.
But on the other hand, you are correct. Babies were largely delivered by twilight. The women was sort of which sounds like a great idea to me, but I know there are many who would differ with me about that. What about your employer? Is paternity leave an option?
I don't know the specifics of our plan, but I'm sure we have something in place for someone who for women who would be going, whether it's stacking vacation days, the way that it's typically done at this point. So I don't think there's a specific paternity or family leave in place, but we're amenable to that.
We actually have an email question. What is your take on being a stay-at-home dad?
Well, I don't have a pro or con of being a stay-at-home dad. I think that depending upon the financial situation of the family and how they decide that they want to run their lives, that's either way is it was never an option for me, financially, but I think that it would be hard.
Hard?
Yeah, I think it'd be hard. I love my children dearly, but spending the whole day with them every day when they were little, it's a hard job. And if it was a situation where my wife made so much more money than me that it was economically feasible that one of us should stay home, then I could understand it. But people that stay home and take care of children, I give them a lot of credit. It's a hard job. It really is. And I would do it if I had to do it. But
do you think it ends up being an even split of labor at home, even when you're both working?
You'd have to ask my wife. She agrees with this, but
the answer is no.
Yeah, I think I think we split things pretty evenly. I don't think there's, at least in my house, there's not a you do this and I do that. I think maybe we're slightly better at some things than other things, but there's no clear delineations of you take care of that part of it, and I take care of watching the TV, but.
Do you guys think there's a difference between maternal parenting and motherly, paternal parenting? Sorry. Men and women parent differently, and what are the pros and cons of each? I guess to put it another way.
I will say this: that my children, at least, probably accept public hugs from their mother more than they do from me. I like to actually torture my 12-year-old by trying to hug him in public. Love you, Henry. Maybe I'm just a jerk. I don't know.
What do you think, Tom?
Do I think that's it's definitely different. It's different. A, because you're different people, and B, because you have a different perspective. I think, just to get back to your question before, I think chore-wise, there was a pretty good division of labor, but I think in emotional, connection, and in the worrying about who has to do this now, who has to do that now, and who's got to be. I think that my wife, my ex-wife, did a lot more of that.
Well, actually, I want to talk about
Yeah.
that. What I would call, or people have called, who's the primary parent, and did that concept exist in your homes? And even something as mundane as who gets the calls from school when there's a problem? We never designated it, but
Yeah.
I know that I was the one they called.
Okay. Personally, we don't really have that kind of thing, and whether it's school or like my wife and I like emailing each other back and forth all day long about, wait, the baseball game's at this field? No, it's at Getz. No, wait, they moved it to Flint. So there's a lot of that going on. So I feel like we're pretty much. I would love to say, hey, it's all yours, but that's not what we do.
We actually have another email. What's your favorite part about being a dad, and what's the hardest?
Wow.
Wow, I think my favorite part about being a dad is watching my kids grow up, watching my kids have a sense of humor, interacting with my children now that they're older, also like on almost an adult level, and seeing the good people that they've become.
I'm actually going to stop you only because we have a caller, and we'll try to come back to this question because I try to take callers. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, first-time caller, long-time watcher. My question is, should paid paternity leave be something mandated, enforced by the government, or left to individual businesses? I'll hang up now.
I did hear that.
Okay.
And I do have an opinion on that. I would like to see, and a lot of countries have done this, and some industries are doing this, that you could elect to take out a small part of your salary every week in the event that you would want to take, not just a paid paternity, but if you had somebody sick in your family, you had a death in your family, and you wanted to use that as your paid, and the government would hold back
So
a certain amount. Almost like a Social Security for family emergencies or family events where you needed some time off. So that it isn't just on the employer. Maybe it's part employer contribution, part employee contribution. But I think if we're going to be serious about family values in this country, we got to value families, and we got to make decisions that help families be cohesive.
I hadn't been really aware of this until I started preparing for this, but New York State has enacted a family leave policy for men and women to allow them to bond with a new child or to care for a gravely ill family member. And this new law is going to be phasing in along with the $15 minimum wage starting in around 2018, which I just found interesting in that it wasn't as well publicized.
No.
Yeah. I was in preparing for this too. I was kind of surprised to learn that, and surprised that this wasn't like huge news, And I believe it's set up the way you're talking about, where it's an employee contribution.
I probably read where the idea got stuck in my head.
So we're running out of time, but I do want to actually wrap up with both of you telling us the hardest and the most your favorite part of being dad, since I interrupted you.
I gave you my favorite. The hardest thing is worrying about your children, and there's no way you can get around that, and there's no cure for that. And even if your children get to be in their 20s and you don't see them as often, they're always on your mind, and you always you have a concern. You hear about something that happens out in the world, and you want to make sure your kids are all right. So that's a good thing because that's the bond you have with that child. But it's also a terrifying thing to think that there's something bad can happen to your children. There's evil out there, and so that's the hardest part.
That job never ends.
That job never ends. Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah, and I would say, I agree with everything you said. I would say one of the hard things to do is to force yourself to step back and kind of let them either succeed or fail on their own. If they're working on homework or in sports or whatever, just to shut up and just let them do it. And if they fail, they'll learn from it. And if they succeed, that's great. They did it on their own, but not to helicopter in and feel like you have to make everything perfect for them.
Right.
and I'm sure they would agree that I don't make everything perfect for them. So.
And on that note, thank you, gentlemen, for
Thank you,
joining
Maureen.
us.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will be back with more community stories and the answer to that trivia question. Stay tuned.
Fresh cuts and an even fresher atmosphere. That's what you can expect when visiting 188 Fine Men's Hair Salon in this week's In the Spotlight.
Father's Day isn't just about being a great dad. Gotta look the part too. Today we're at newly opened 188 Men's Hair Salon on Mamaroneck Avenue to see if they can truly give you that great look for Father's Day. Carmela is the owner of 188, a fine men's hair salon situated in the heart of Mamaroneck Avenue. It's a salon that advertises itself as more than just a haircut.
Our stylists are trained to actually feel the gentleman's head and handcraft their haircut to their head. We work with all different types of hairstyles, haircuts, from fades to long hair. We also do coloring, we do waxing for gentlemen, we do a tremendous amount of gray blending for gentlemen.
For Carmela, it's not just about having a great haircut, but also a great experience.
When a gentleman comes into our salon, we want him to feel as he's in an oasis of relaxation. He can come in and get a complimentary beverage, a beer, wine, soda, coffee, and he is escorted in with a stylist, and the stylist will pay full attention to him.
And customers have only had good things to say.
It's awesome. The space is beautiful. The construction was great. Everything looks wonderful. Lucy was amazing. And I got the haircut that I really wanted, and I like it a lot.
I was even given the opportunity to see what 188 had to offer, and Lucy didn't disappoint.
I'm having time of my life right now.
And if you like, tweet, or follow 188 Mamaroneck on any social media network, you'll get 10% off your next haircut. I'm James Levinson, and from everybody here at The Local Live, wishing you a happy Father's Day.
You're watching The Local Live,
the only news show on Larchmont and Mamaroneck on LMC-TV.
Starburst is a lovely pastel calico long hair beauty. She's about 3 years old and is quite the diva, treating herself to drinks from the faucet. This kitty was a beloved pet who was put out onto the street when her owner passed away. She now resides in a great foster home with other cats and dogs. For more information on Starburst and to browse other adorable pets, go to www.my-petrescue.org. Remember, if you'd like to keep us on air, support our program by checking out our website at www.lmctv.org and click on the donate button in the upper right corner. We really appreciate any contribution. We're always welcoming new interns and volunteers, so send your emails to thelocallive@lmctv.org and join us. We love hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Gabe Tugenstein, and see you next week on another edition of The Local Live.
go slow. Whoa.
Can The Local Live give my pet ostrich the power of human speech?
What?